everybody. Welcome to the webinar on how to get a better sleep, which we all do, and addressing insomnia and sleeping disorders. Just an intro. My name is Zeti, and I'll be co-hosting today's webinar on how to get a better sleep, addressing insomnia and sleeping disorder with flashbacks on myself. I'm an everyday wife, a stepmom to a teenager, and a researcher in pursuit of PhD in counseling and psychotherapy. I worked as a counselor mainly in Singapore, Australia, United States, and the UNHCR Malaysia here. And for 2 years, I taught business English in Germany. So currently I'm participating in International Psychology Centre. I'm a minimalist. I enjoy nature, yoga, cooking, gardening, reading, researching, hiking, and horse riding. And my biggest interest will be healthy living. Hence today's topic on how to get a better sleep. And addressing insomnia and sleeping disorder is of interest to me, as it might pose as a barrier to healthy living, or the question, can it? We have today our Dr. Edward to give an in-depth knowledge on the matter. So welcome, Dr. Edward Chan. And just to give you a little bit of intro, now, Dr. Edward Chan is the Principal Consultant Psychologist at International Psychology Centre and the Clinical Director at WellLab. He holds a Bachelor in Psychology, a Master's of Science in Learning, a further Master's degree in Nutritional Medicine, and a Doctorate in Psychology. Yada, yada, yada. Nobody can do this talk as well as Dr. Edward and advise us on how to get a better night's sleep. He has numerous accreditation in different modalities of psychotherapy practices and is a certified clinics led by Dr. Daniel Amen, international best-selling author of Healing Anxiety and Depression, having himself authors of numerous books on psychology and relationship, as well as research papers. So welcome, doctors, and we hope to get a lot of knowledge and information, in-depth knowledge on how to get a better sleep. Okay, so to start off, I suppose the basic, simple question that lingers with our audience today is, what are insomnia and sleeping disorders? Are they, and how can we get a good night's sleep? So let's start with that question, which is quite basic.
Yes, thank you, Zeti, for that kind introduction. And these important matters that I would like to talk about. What is insomnia? How to define it? But maybe we backtrack a little bit and try to understand why this topic is important, right? Why we have so many participants and an interest in this topic. The issue is sleep is maybe underrated, right? People thought, we can. It's important to get exercise, to eat healthy, but sleep may be not given the due that it is, should be. And today we will hope to share some information that keep it right, like the link to depression, to mental health diseases. We will cover that, the link to our immune system, to the aging, against infection, and it is actually 4-time linked to 4-time increase of mortality, which means you are 4 times as likely to die if you have insomnia. Just to put it in a little bit of perspective.
This is serious here.
Yes, it is
Sleep
serious.
is a serious,
So,
yes.
but at the same time, it is probably the cheapest free therapy
Mm.
we can have to put right
Mhm.
most mental health and physical health issues, right? So
Mhm.
so it is in our hand. Of course, as professionals, we can facilitate a lot of therapy, right?
Mhm.
So back to your question, what is insomnia? I mean, subjectively, insomnia is a chronic inability to get good quality of sleep, or it takes longer to fall asleep, or you wake up too early. That has been the traditional definition. But I
Mhm.
can share with you some very precise definition. All right.
Okay, that's
This,
good.
this is quite new information from some colleagues from Northumbria Sleep Center in
Mhm.
the UK. So for those of you who do not know, we have different stages of sleep, right? There are actually four stages of sleep, from light sleep, right,
Mhm.
to to um, REM sleep, and then to deep sleep, and back to light sleep. All right.
Mm. Do they occur
So
in this order? So you go into to an REM and then you get to deep sleep and then you're back on light sleep again. Is it that in that order?
yes, it is. It is actually from light sleep, right?
Mhm.
You then get into the REM sleep, right, and
Mhm.
then you get to deep sleep, and then back to light sleep. It is in that order. All right.
Okay.
Um, Now, there is not much difference. All right, between the REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the stage of sleep that's where we dream. Is where we dream, right?
Mhm.
And there's some suggestion that this might be quite important, right, for like consolidation of memory, but we don't find much difference in the length of REM sleep between those that have chronic insomnia and those that do not. All right, so REM sleep is not much the issue here, right?
Mhm.
By the way, a bit of a trivia. Um, how do we know when we are in REM sleep? I
How do we know when we're in
when we
REM
in
sleep?
REM sleep. Yes,
Well, when you dream or your
when we
mind
dream.
gets active.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Somebody said, but yeah, but there's a subtle bit of information here. Is it when we dream in color or when we dream black and white?
Mm,
Okay,
that's
or does it
interesting.
matter?
Mm,
Right?
mm.
Does it matter whether we dream in color or we dream in black and white? Actually,
That's actually
it
interesting.
matters. It matters.
Mm.
It matters. If we dream in black and white, we are not yet in REM sleep. We might just be having a fantasy, a reverie that is not real dreaming. But when we really dream in color, then you are in REM sleep. Right? A bit of trivia.
It's interesting you said that, doctor, because now I'm going to be more aware whether my dreams has color, because sometimes you don't have memories of the dream. I mean, I
Right.
remember bits and pieces of it, and I'm
Yeah.
aware that I'm in
Mm.
REM actually, but yeah, I have to
Yes.
look out for
Yeah.
colors.
Right. And then this is the other bit of trivia. Why is it that we remember and sometimes we don't? It depends on when we wake up. If we wake up in the middle of REM, then we definitely will remember the dream. But whereas if you
Mm-hmm.
drift back into light sleep and all, we might not, right?
Okay.
But the critical difference now between insomnia and those who do not have insomnia actually is this deep sleep. this stage 3, right? And there is a difference, right? Between how long it takes for someone to go from REM to deep sleep, right? For normal people without insomnia, it's around 90 minutes, 93 minutes, all right? But for chronic insomnic, it's much shorter, about half an hour shorter, all right?
Okay.
Yeah, and this deep sleep is also marked by slow wave, right? They put all this EEG equipment in your head to measure the wave that you produce, and this slow wave is linked to restorative sleep. This is where the body repairs itself, and we are able to learn new things, consolidates the learning we had, right? And now for the first time, right? For time we are able to link this shortened period to get into the deep sleep with onset of depression.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So this is interesting because we have for the first time a biomarker, right? We have a marker to really link or measure sleep with depression or insomnia with depression. And in fact, it has been puzzling a psychologist and sleep scientist for many years, which is the chicken and which is the egg. Is it like depression cause insomnia? Of course it does, right?
Yeah.
But now we know for the first time that it is insomnia that causes depression, right? Because before that you have all these normal people, there's no depression. But once you start getting this shortened period that it takes to go into deep sleep, then we see depression increasing. And the other interesting thing is the stress level between these two group of people stay the same. Stress and even perceived stress. So it's not the stress per se, right? That is the problem. It is when the stress is leading to this shortened poor quality of sleep, right? The people that stay in REM in light sleep takes them longer to get into deep sleep, and they don't have as much deep sleep. Then this is the problem. Okay. So this is a long way to answer your question about insomnia.
Yes. Dr. Edward,
yes.
What is the recommended hours of deep sleep that one should have in order to have a quality night sleep?
Yeah, actually we don't need. What we do know that there is a significant amount that's less. Is up to 60% less by people who have chronic insomnia. All right. So if we can increase that back, right, to from 60% back to normal. So I would say if we look at the whole sleep cycle as around 2 hours, or slightly over than that. So you might have around 1 hour, around that for deep sleep. So not a huge amount of that, right? If you look at the whole sleep cycle, you have like it's like 1.5 hours to drift into deep sleep. You have another half hour, and then 1 hour, and then you have some light sleep again to get out. So so the whole cycle may be 2 hour plus. Yeah. So around half an hour, 1 hour. Yeah. So that is sufficient. Not a huge amount. And we have one cycle. Over 8 hours total sleep, we might have 3 or so cycle. right?
Right. So it's a repeated cycle, what you meant. One will get into a light sleep and then they enter REM and then they go into a deep sleep for perhaps half an hour. Then they repeat the cycle, sort of repeat.
And these are the most of the sleep, you know. We don't see any function for light sleep actually, you know. So that, you know, probably they don't serve much function. But it is this deep sleep. Even REM sleep, you know, the function is not as pronounced. Yeah.
Sleep is what transition you from going into bed and then that your body enters into a relaxation and entering REM before it gets to
exactly. So when you have like a sudden jerk, right?
Yeah.
Into REM sleep, right?
Okay.
And then,
well, the interesting that you mentioned about the correlation, I want to go into that a little bit with depression. So people who now it's actually found and evidence that there is a great link between people who suffers from chronic insomnia to depression. Okay.
Indeed.
So
indeed.
what you're saying is that
and not only a correlation, but a causative relationship, right?
Positive relation.
So causative. That means the insomnia is causing the depression, right? Because before that, when they're all normal, that takes the normal amount of time, I know 93 minutes, there's no depression. But as soon as you start getting this shortened period of time to the deep sleep, right? So
well, it kind of makes sense because in my past experience when I did my counseling, and a lot of the patients that comes in with depression are being prescribed sleeping pills because they can't sleep at night. You know, so like when you say that it's connected.
Fantastic. Now on the, and I'm glad you mentioned that sleeping pill, right? I've got some very interesting statistics here about sleeping pill, right? It is actually I'm not sure whether we have the research in Malaysia about causing sleeping pill, right? Maybe Dr. Tan, who I believe in, is here. But in the UK, you know, it costs up to 15 million pounds a year, you know, the prescription of sleeping pill, right? And this is the link that I mentioned initially. You are 4 times as likely to die if you're on. So compared to someone who's not on sleeping pill.
Yes, right? 4 times.
So the 4 times mortality rate, right? So this is not just the you know, cost of money, but the cost of you know, loss of life, of productivity, of suffering, as results. Right.
Yes, I just want to ask something. So when you say that you know, people who are using sleeping pills have 4 times higher risk of death, is that because the use of sleeping pills is being used with another, or it's just a body reaction to sleeping pills after?
So if we go back to this sleep architecture, sleeping pill is you know, is a misnomer, actually, the term, because it doesn't actually help you sleep, right? If you go back to that sleep architecture, right, it get you into that sleep stage 1, and that is all, right? So your quality of sleep remain very poor. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't give you that much of a slow wave sleep. You know, the deep sleep that those people that are not on sleeping pill and do not have insomnia have. All right. So this is why, and now plus or the effect, right? presume.
So I suppose somebody who's going to be using sleeping pills for a long term of period, they don't have the same pattern as us getting
exactly
the healthy sleeping patterns like sleep REM and deep sleep.
Indeed.
So it's kind of more like a straight line. After taking the pill, you think your mind thinks you're rested.
Exactly. Yeah, you spend most of your time on stage 1, you know.
Right.
Rather on the stage 3 type of sleep.
Problems with sleep, or some not chronic insomnia, but sometimes you have those sporadic times when you do feel like you can't sleep at night, or a few days of recorded REM sleep rather than into deep sleep. So if you can't, if sleeping pills is not the answer, what kind of strategic get a good sleep?
Well, there are a number, right? As psychologists, we do something called CBT-i, which stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Insomnia. All right. So what this does essentially, and there are a lot of research, right, comparing CBT-i with medications, such as all type of medications, psychotropic drugs, sedatives, and they find that in the long run, CBT-i is more effective. Than all this medication. In the short term, it looks around the same, but in the long term, it is more effective to treat insomnia. All right. So what it does is essentially it helps. So there was a question there which we'll address. So it helps the way you think, right, about threats and danger, anxiety. All right, so let me give you interesting facts. All right, another trivia, maybe not so trivial, but it helps us to understand, right? In the animal kingdom, we know that different animals have different sleeping time. All right, so guess which animal is it, like a predator or a prey that has a longer sleeping time? Which do you think? Predator or prey? Is it the lion or the antelopes that has a longer sleeping time?
Predator or prey?
Yes.
My guess, I would be the prey will have a longer sleeping time because the predator are so awake and alert.
Yeah.
Jumping.
Exactly. You got it. So the prey need their waking time, need the alertness, the vigilance, right? Because they are constant threats that the lions might be around. Whereas if you're king of the you can sleep all day, there's no threats, Someone mentioned the koala in a natural habitat probably don't have a threat as well, So this translated, to us human is really our perceived element of threats, right? So if we feel that there's no threats, then to sleep. But if we feel like we're gonna have some issue in tomorrow, or we are not sure whether we're going to be rejected by someone. So all these threats are around, then it is going to make us stay awake.
I suppose it's it's interesting. I wanted to ask personality types. Are there personality types that are more prone to getting problems with
yes, that is disorders? A good question. There's a good question. There are what we call predispositions. So this includes
Predispositions, yes.
personality type, and also genetics. So if you're
Genetics.
blessed with the right gene, you might not.
This is, I have a friend who just put their head on.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
yes.
for me, I'm personal, right?
Mm-hmm,
For those of you who knows about MBTI,
mm-hmm.
we are very spontaneous, not structure. We are very, you know, like they say, you can fall down on like a bed of feces and come out smelling of roses, right? So that is us. So
Yeah, yeah.
we yeah. So for personality P, yeah, definitely it'll be easier to sleep because we don't get we are able to like bracket that out and switch off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Whereas some other personality, those another interesting um, biological the marker is methylation. So there's something called over methylation, which is to do with your biochemical process. And
Mm-hmm.
we find those people that are over methylated, that they have this very driven personality type, right?
Yes,
Like doctors and then probably lawyers, they tend to have this that enable them to like be successful and achieve, but the price to pay is they suffer from
this sleep.
yes.
Sleep
So
deprivation.
that's right, and
It's actually
yeah.
interesting because when you speak about personality, so does that mean that people who doesn't have that personality trait or the
Mm,
disposition
indeed,
um,
yes.
to sleep easily, is there a strategic way to kind of drift
Yes,
towards having better sleep,
there
or are
are
we? Yeah,
marrying someone with your opposite personality type.
that's a good one. Yeah, that
uh,
is so true. Yeah, because you need to balance
provided,
out, right?
right, yeah, and hopefully you grow, you learn from your partner, and this
Yeah.
is why they say opposite attracts, so that we
Yes.
grow. But
Mhm,
and that there actually some truth in that, but
mhm,
seriously, there's no like bad personality as such, right?
mhm,
So all personalities have their values,
mhm,
but there are growth values, growth factors. So
mhm.
if you are of the J personality type, or the A personality type, where we are very driven, you have very high unrelenting standards, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Then you need to grow and learn how to let go and relax and chill, all right, and go with the flow
Yes,
rather
yes.
than everything um, like plan
I
out.
actually, yeah. Actually, you just pointed out something really interesting because as it's more a developmental a thing for everybody. And and I'm glad that you tell the audience and myself today that it is something that you can relearn. So if you have an unrelenting
Yes,
standard, for instance, being aware of it and then letting go
yes,
of some of it
yes,
may even contribute
yes,
you to have a better night's sleep.
indeed.
It's
Right.
yeah.
Indeed, you can definitely grow. Right.
Mm,
It
mm.
is like you are born right-handed. You can learn how to use your left hand. You know,
Yes.
like the one of the greatest tennis player Nadal. He's actually right-handed, but his father forced him to use his left hand for tennis,
Wow.
and he become world number one.
That's amazing. Amazing.
As a result. Yeah.
I want to okay, so it's very common these days if you go to a medical doctor or clinic, and the first thing they will be susceptible to do is to prescribe you with to sleeping pills. Most doctors will do that. Now, in order for us not to kind of fall into that category of having that tendency to use sleeping pills, are there herbs, or is this a myth that you can use to kind of calm you down before you go to sleep?
Yes, I mean, we need to get the whole issue of insomnia. I mean, by another interesting statistic is up to 15% of the population, I mean, in the UK, for example, suffer from insomnia. So it's a huge number, right? And it is, and another interesting fact is compared to like maybe 10, 15 years ago, we sleep on average 1 hour shorter.
Wow.
Right? So it sure doesn't mean we need less 1 hour of sleep less, right? But it's just due to all this poor sleep hygiene that we suffer, right, from insomnia. So we need to understand what are the factors that give rise to more insomnia. Before we talk about herbs and things, right? So one is we need to understand circadian rhythm, right? We are clock, right? And this is largely influenced by the natural rhythm of our environment, right? Sunlight, yeah, to mainly. Right, our ancestors, 100 over years ago, don't have electricity, right? And so now we find our whole body circadian rhythm has moved as a result of artificial light, right? So it has moved further in, and as a result, we have less sleep because of that. And our policies, school policies, work policies do not help either. Getting children to wake up at 6 o'clock before, I would say a very poor health policy, right? Your child is not at its prime productivity, is poor, but that is another story. So we have a rise of insomnia because of artificial lights, and I just attended this 5G summit, all this EMF. That huge research to suggest it causes insomnia as well, linked to insomnia, blue light, watching your TV, late at night, your computer, all right? So I would suggest, buy a screen or glasses that block the blue light, for example, and change all your house light to like red lights from white lights, so that you at night you put on only the red lights. And then we can talk about other aspects of sleep hygiene, like regularity, right? Our ancestors go to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time. And how many of you do that? Right, sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time, and I bet that in the weekend you sleep longer, you wake up later. Now that is not a good idea, because it's going to really affect your circadian rhythm.
It's actually interesting you said that about artificial light, because we are surrounded by technology.
Exactly.
5 minutes
so this
before
is
your bedtime.
This is what we call light pollution.
Light pollution, that's true. 5 minutes before bedtime. Our ancestors doesn't have mobile phone that goes zzz and require you to reply, but you do, and that artificial light gives you a sense that it's not night. Your body goes into a working mode by replying to a text message.
So,
now there's actually quickly there's a question posed. Does melatonin work?
Yes. So what melatonin does, it really help for those of us who got our circadian rhythm out of sync, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either to poor light, sleep hygiene, or light pollution, or even sometimes we need to travel, jet lag and all that. What melatonin does, it resets the circadian rhythm back for you. So it does work in that way. It reset the circadian rhythm for you, our internal clock, right? So we get back to the healthy clock. And as we age, unfortunately, our
Mm-hmm.
pineal gland shrink, and our pineal gland is responsible for producing melatonin. So as it shrinks, and it produces less melatonin. So there was this amazing, maybe slightly unethical research done, some years ago, where these scientists do an operation between a group of old rats and young rats, right? So the old rats, initially they find that they perform very poorly in finding maze around their memory and sexual performance and all that. Whereas the young rats obviously were at the top of the game, and then they do an operation to switch the pineal gland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, this they found behaviorally, these old rats behave like young rats. They become super
Useful, energetic.
youthful, energy, great sex, and running around finding things that the young rats now having problem, and it's to do with the melatonin production. Right, they're sleeping better, they're producing better melatonin, which help them to do that. So I mean, we cannot do the same in human, but certainly supplementing with melatonin will put you back into this good circadian rhythm. Together with a number of other herbs you asked. Like melatonin, they are cofactors. They are amino acids, which is actually a neurotransmitters, GABA. Right, it's a calming neurotransmitter, help you to calm down. That is great as well. There are supplementation like magnesium threonate. Not any magnesium, but magnesium threonate that can be helpful for you to produce GABA. Right. Somebody asked about the dosage. Right. I mean we are not professionally going to be giving any treatment advice here, right? This is for general advice and things.
Yes.
So I would suggest for those who want professional consultation to contact us, and they can get precise information about dosage and everything. But definitely, in general, we would say start low, yeah, and then we can look at the precise customized dosage that is needed. But one difference between supplementation like a natural sleep hormone like melatonin and sleeping pills, there are pharmaceutical drugs are the side effects, right? So that there is like no serious side effects with melatonin, right? So the only side effect is you might feel a bit sleepy in the morning if you have too much.
Okay.
If you have too much, I know people that goes up to 20 mg, all right? And so you have too much, you might feel a bit groggy in the morning, but that is easily taken care of by just exposing yourself to sunlight. So remember sunlight, right? White light, sunlight under the sky has the ability to reset our circadian rhythm. Our receptors have our eyes have receptors for white light, blue light.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Now, doctor, it's interesting you mentioned about melatonin, and I suppose with aging, it's a bummer, basically.
Yeah. Well, so melatonin is touted as an anti-aging supplement. Indeed, the miracle anti-aging
Yes. The other question I have is now I believe that melatonin, you can actually go to the pharmacy and get them over the counter. These are not prescriptive. So tell me whether these are
unfortunately that is not true in Malaysia. All right,
so?
you cannot. It is true in Singapore, right?
Yes.
For those of you who have relatives in Singapore, you can do that. That is true. Now, due to some differences in health policies, our Ministry of Health do not allow over the counter. In fact, melatonin is sort of banned. It's in the ban list for some reason. But it is possible to get it by a compounded, right?
So if a government can ban melatonin, what is the reason? Is there a reason for it to be banned? Is it a dangerous?
Well,
does it pose any health?
Yeah, I mean, health policies historically, due to all sorts of reasons, right? And they need to be updated sometimes. I believe we have gone to our Ministry of Health to persuade them, that there's no harm in melatonin, and hopefully that they will listen. Yeah. So.
Yeah. The other thing that we all would probably be very interested with, since we're in Asia and food is very much the culture here. So I want to talk a little bit about food and sleeping. So are there any type of foods that prevent you from having a good night's sleep, or is there any particular food that you can eat in order to help you sleep?
Yes, and this goes directly into these different cycles of sleep, right? So so a good sleep hygiene is to have a period of empty stomach before you go to sleep, 3-4 hours, right?
3-4 hours. Okay.
In fact, I would research shows up to 13-15 hours of fasting. Like I just had my lunch, right? And then my last meal was last night. So I have at least a 15 hours window of no food, which allows me to optimize my brain chemicals for neurotransmitters and all my hormones, right? So that is recommended. Our ancestors, probably eat once a day, right?
Once a day.
And yeah, but unfortunately, our modern lifestyle, what they call the American lifestyle, really or even the Asian lifestyle, totally make us depart from that. So certainly a heavy meal at night just before bed is not a good idea. And unfortunately, there are a lot of additives in our diet, like MSG will definitely keep you awake. And sugar, food that is rich in carb, in sugar, is another culprit. Right. So we need to. So personally, I follow something called ketogenic diet, which is very low carb and low sugar, and I would recommend that to people. Otherwise, just a low carb diet and really have a long period, of fasting. So So you have a small window of where you eat will be best.
Yeah.
Right.
So can you just kind of a little bit clarify? So people who probably eat twice a day, so they have 2 meals a day, lunch and dinner. So the dinner has to be about 3 to 4 hours before bedtime.
Indeed. Yes. Indeed.
In order to generate that tiredness.
Window.
Window.
To ensure that all your digestion and everything is done, you do not spend your bedtime trying to digest food and things,
What about exercises?
3-4 hours period will be best, and early dinner,
early
and
dinner.
don't snack.
No snacking.
No snacking. Yes.
That is so not
After-
Asian. Asian people snack a lot and
Yeah, I
they
know,
have supper.
I know.
And I think we have supper as well.
So that is why we have so much more insomnia. I would say.
That's interesting. So in Asia, you think there's
so
a high
we
number
need
of
to-
insomnia cases in Asia?
I would say yes. I would say it is pretty. I mean now the whole lifestyle is pretty global. You know, unless you go to the Inner Mongolia or something, you can have still the original nomadic ancestor lifestyle. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same anywhere you go.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
and yeah, that's
Okay.
a problem.
So are there any particular, like, do you eat a lot more vegetables than meat, or do you stay away from meat? Are there such things as,
Well,
those kind of...
Yeah, in the diet that I recommend and that I follow, the ketogenic diet, the meat is actually the same, around 17%. So that's just
17%.
more or less. Certainly, you don't want to eat more meat, right? So some people might remember Atkins, the Atkins diet that emphasize heavily on protein. No, that is wrong as well, because extra protein will turn into sugar, right? So extra carb will turn into sugar. So normal amount of protein, but you eat more of good fats, right? So personally, I have an avocado at least once a day. I have kampong omega-3 eggs. These are good. I have various nuts and seeds. Yeah, our ancestors eat a lot. Pistachio nut, for example, give rise to melatonin. Help us to produce melatonin. So that is a good nut to have, but not so much of peanuts. Yeah, and that definitely a lot of herbs and things, garlic, onion. All these are prebiotics that help our guts. To be healthy, and the other thing to an interesting note is the very important antidepressant neurotransmitter called serotonin actually produces melatonin. So serotonin produces melatonin, right? And guess which part of our organ has the most serotonin?
Which part?
Yeah, where in our body?
Brain?
Yes, you might think it's the brain, but it's actually our guts, right? Our guts, our guts, the region of our stomach has more serotonin.
Yeah.
So this would indicate the importance of having a healthy gut, and which is why sugar is really a bad diet and destroy the gut. The lining in which destroy the production of serotonin, and that indirectly cause the compromises our melatonin, our sleep hormones, right? So the gut health, very important.
Very important. Okay, now let's move on to exercise. Would you encourage any exercise prior to sleeping, or how long should the gap be between your...
Well, I would encourage a nice walk, right? A leisurely walk after dinner to help you digest, but no heavy exercise.
No heavy exercise.
Pre-bed, you can have a walk, in the cool air. Temperature is another important factor. We sleep well when it's our body is cooler. So definitely a walk, with your partner, with your dogs, would be a good idea before. But if you want to do exercise, then do it more like in the morning or early part of the day, because rigorous exercise produces stress hormone called cortisol, right? And cortisol suppresses the melatonin, which is what you need for sleep. So
Okay.
do not exercise too late. And so if you exercise in the morning, I like doing that. That is the best, because when you wake up, your cortisol is at its height.
Yeah.
And this is the hormones you need to exercise. It gives you energy. So naturally, you leverage on that. You exercise. You're full of energy. I'm at my best. And and another link, interesting link is about intimacy. When do we make love? So in the morning, our cortisol is highest, our testosterone is highest. Those are recommended time. Right?
In the morning.
In the morning, not when you go to bed.
Okay, I'll write that.
Contrast.
I'll write that. Definitely morning intimacy.
But unfortunately, most of us rush to work in the morning, and we need to really adjust our lifestyle according.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because is there a difference in male and female levels in the morning?
Well, interestingly, female also need testosterone.
Okay.
Female also need testosterone. Which is the hormone that drive sexual desire. Right? Both female need it less. So morning is still good. Although with female, you have other hormones like estrogen, progesterone. Which are related to the sexual health, DHEA, but testosterone is the main driver. So for female, morning is good. So if you synchronize it with your partner, then I think we have, yes, that would be the
You
best.
just need to have the harmony in energy
yes.
in the morning.
Yeah, and of course, as you mentioned, I was the clinical director of WellLab. We do measure all these hormones. We do saliva tests for your melatonin, your sleep profile, of your cortisol, of your testosterone, your estrogen. So all this can be measured, and we can even measure cycle of it. So we take a few samples throughout the day, and we plot, how your cortisol rise, and fall, and that allow us to have more precise therapy if need be, and help you to readjust your, give you more precise information to
Yes. Well, the other thing that I'm passionate about yoga. So it's probably one of a yoga instructor. And I have people that come in and say that they suffer from some kind of mild insomnia on the days that they do have that. What do they do? So one of the things that is very important is pranayama, the technique of breathing, the technique of slow breathing, because during the day you sort of you're on the go. You're on the go, and you're thinking, you're problem solving, you're doing everything. So your breathing tends to be very different. So when you're about to wind down, sleeping, you need to be aware of that breathing pattern that you have.
Indeed. Yeah. So rhythm, right, is very important for sleep. Slowing our brain wave. So we can induce it with yoga, with hypnosis. I teach hypnosis, self hypnosis is the same thing. Or we can even tap. You can tap your feet or even your hand. Slow, you like do it fast first, and then slowly, and do that. After a while, you allow yourself to sleep, right? So yes, yoga totally, and we have a research of production of DHEA, which is another very important anti-aging hormone that gives you testosterone as well, linked directly to yoga and meditation. So we need pattern, right? We need so another very interesting research. We find that there's education difference. Right, economic status difference, race difference between people to have more insomnia, less sleep, and those that do not, and it has largely to do with bedtime rituals, right? So
Interesting.
highly educated, more educated middle class people, they tend to have more of these rituals. Bedtime story, tucking your bed, singing, with your children, compared to those, people like blacks, for example, that have done this research. The lower economic class, people that they don't have the energy, they don't have the time, that they might be a single parent, that don't, and as a result, they pay the penalty as well for more disturbed sleep and less good quality of sleep. So we need to put back this ritual rhythm, like maybe do yoga before bed. Right, certainly I would highly recommend that we, in our practice we will have hypnosis that we teach our patients to do, to induce them into sleep. So we need a pre-bed ritual, and a in-bed ritual. We have sleep music. We have something called sleep bank that you can put on a little device that will send up a nice frequency, slow wave frequency, to yourself. For those interested, you can go into some of our energy medicine website called NutriMed at Place. Yeah, NutriMed at Place.
Yes.
And we have all those.
I think years ago when I was in Australia, a couple came in and they sort of very good. But the husband is very much of a television person to wind down, and watching television together. So she finds it difficult because she wants to have time together, sitting in the sofa watching TV together. But the exposure to the television, the storyline, the exposure to the lights are keeping her awake at night. The strategies that we had to talk about is an hour before or half an hour before she goes to the room first to kind of wind down with the breathing and the mantra, because it's great. They have a fantastic relationship. They complement each other, but because the male is watching TV to wind down, and it tends to be very affected by storylines. So sometimes that keeps her awake. So in sessions of counseling, I had encountered that sometimes you have to, have your personal time half an hour before to wind down.
Yes, that would be good. But do it in a ritual fashion. That means the same type of activities. Every night. So our brain, then our brain have had that rhythm and get a sleep time is approaching, and you start then producing all those necessary hormones like melatonin to for sleep, right? So that is
well, that's a whole in-depth knowledge that we got from you, Dr. Edwards. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Are there any questions that we have from the audience that are interested to ask any? Does melatonin works? And you've answered that.
Yes, and I saw some private question about any advice for toddlers who get woken up. Woken up. I mean, so toddler, teenager, they need much more sleep, definitely.
Oh yes.
And this is linked to their another interesting fact is the size of our hippocampus. Area for memory, for learning, it's shrunk with reduced sleep. So definitely for toddlers, if you want to set in all these rituals that would then help them, bedtime story, and if they wake up in having a nightmare, you share with them another story to get back into the pre-bed ritual and set them off back to sleep again would be a good idea, and do some rhythmic, patting with them, rhythmic singing, like my music type of therapy,
Yeah. Okay,
that would be the advice.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much for today. I enjoyed this co-hosting.
Well, thank you for all your lovely questions.
It makes the topic really interesting, and I hope the audience felt the same way. And anything, you can always send a message personally to Dr. Edwards, or if you need any other materials.
Yes, you can visit our website, our psychology website, psychology.com.my, our WellLab website, which is malaysialaboratory.com, I believe. Yes.
Okay. And these are just for public to access the test, isn't it, Dr.
Yeah, the lab tests, the psychology therapy. We have a hypnotherapy section. We have the energy medicine, the website, NutriMed at Club. Which will talk about sleep bank, and I personally have a fantastic machine called the Scala machine, which helped to neutralize all my EMF, but that's another story.
Okay, another topic.
Another topic on energy medicine, maybe. Yeah,
okay,
fantastic. So I see a lot of people still joining in, but we will get this recorded and publish a YouTube version of this, and so that we can share it out to more people. So wonderful. And thank you all for participating. Thank you, Sati.
Thank you,
Bye
Doctor.
now. Thank you.
Bye.